What's up, guys? I'm an addict named George. I'm a grateful, proud, sometimes loud member of Narcotics Anonymous. And I'm grateful to be here. And I feel kind of weird holding this microphone. I might go into stand-up mode every now and then, but I'm here to carry a message. I ain't being paid to be a comedian. That's what's Mark for, and you'll see him tomorrow night. And but I am an addict. I am any addict. I have stopped using drugs, I have lost the desire to use, and I have found a new way to live. And beyond your wildest dreams, what is going on here? This is absolutely insane. I just got to get centered real quick. I've been having long story short, me and my wife are driving back from Key West just this afternoon in our car, and I see something in the road. I'm not sure what it is, but I hit it, and it blew my tire out in like 2 seconds. So there I am on the side of the road, and it's just been just a lot going on. My wife, she's around here somewhere, probably chasing Cody around. She has been supportive. It's a lot. For those that have 3-year-olds, know that it's a lot. It is a lot. They talk about terrible 2s, the 3s are even worse. You know why? Because now they can fucking talk. So, we said a little prayer. I ain't changed a tire in God knows how long. AAA was going to take too damn long. So me and my wife said a prayer, and she said, "You can do this." I said, "I'm going to do it." Got out the car. We had all this stuff in the trunk. We had to take the stuff out the trunk. We get to the spare tire. We put it out. I get the thing up. I unlock the lug nuts. And about a minute later, this white minivan pulls over, and Wallace, Chris, and Andy jump out the van like some pit crew from the Daytona 500. And in record timing, they changed that damn tire. While the English guy filed his nails in the air conditioning. I love you, Anthony. Anthony had no idea what the fuck was going on. He's like, what? But thank you guys, man. That's what happens in Narcotics Anonymous. You know, God showed up. Yes, he did. He sent me a pit crew to change my damn tire. And so I'm grateful. I'm ecstatic to see, after 6 years of hurricanes and COVID, that the key spiritual retreat is back with a fucking vengeance. Yeah! I've been clean in Florida for a really long time, and this is the first time I made it down here. So thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. And getting back to our message, I'm an addict. I've stopped using, and I've lost the desire to use. That's right. You know, we talk about miracles in Narcotics Anonymous, but we also talk about the real miracle that our literature talks about. The real miracle occurs when we suddenly realize the obsession to use drugs has somehow been lifted. And when you think about it, when we talk about being clean is a miracle, but moreover that the obsession to use drugs is gone, that is the real miracle. And why is that a miracle? Because it's in my nature to want to get high. It plagued my life for 15 plus years. Every waking moment was, I got to get that next one, I got to get that next one, I got to get that next one. It's in my nature to want to get high, to obsess to get high. And anything that defies the very forces of nature is nothing short of a freaking miracle. I'm an addict with over 22 years clean. And on March 9, 2001, I found myself at the end of the road. And very early on, I don't know when it happened, but I know very early on, I was done. I was done. And surrender, you know, I cannot judge anybody's willingness to stay clean. That's between you, your God, your sponsor. Ain't none of my business. But I know when I got here, I was done. And that desire, that obsession, that feeling, whatever it was, don't get me wrong, I get the thought every now and then, and my first sponsor, when I would talk to him, I'd be like, man, I thought about getting high today. Be like, well, George, did you think about getting high, or did you feel like getting high? I ain't felt like getting high in a really long time. Thank God for that. Look, and if you're new, and you still got that monkey on your back, just hang on. Hang on, that shit will pass eventually. Then it might come back, and then it'll pass again. It might come back, and it'll pass again. It might come back, and pass again. But it does go away. You know, using is, you know, is, I don't struggle with that no more. I struggle with me. That's who I struggle with. So if you're new, and you're here, and you have less than a year clean, can you please stand up? Then stand up proud. Right there, old timer. Do you know what you just saw? Yeah. It might scare the shit out of you, but that is the future of Narcotics Anonymous. That is our future. And our job is to fan the flames of desire, not dampen them. This ain't about sit down and shut the fuck up. This is about stand up and speak up. We don't want to hear your profound wisdom on the 12th step because you ain't got none right now. But your ass is on fire, share that shit. Come to a meeting, raise your hand. That's how I did it. You couldn't keep my mouth shut. Tell me to shut up. I got rights. So the future of Narcotics Anonymous. You can do anything you want to do in Narcotics Anonymous. Anything. Beyond your wildest dreams. In the past month, I was in Ocean Shores doing comedy. Then I went to New York to visit family. Then I was just last weekend at the Daytona Area Convention. On the committee, doing a lot of work, and thank you to the committee members, right? Thank you. It's a lot of work putting this stuff on. I know. And this week, I'm in the freaking Keys with about 1,200 addicts, clean, by the ocean. We are not supposed to be here. We are not. Beyond your wildest dreams. And I could not grasp that when I was new. When I would hear people talk about beyond your wildest dream, that shit sounds so damn corny. I want to throw chairs at people. What the fuck are you talking about? I'm just going to wrap my head around it. But beyond your wildest dreams, I have gone places that I thought, look, the disease had me locked down on the block. I did not go nowhere. It told me when to get up, when to sleep, who I talked to, who I didn't talk to, who I lied to, who I didn't lie to, when I ate, when I didn't eat. It dictated and controlled my life, and it had me locked down to a 1-block radius. That was it. And here we are. Here we are. I have gone places, and Jimmy talked about the World Convention. I have spoken at a lot of places. I have done a lot of things. And you think that would have been the pinnacle, right? Don't get me wrong. That was the most craziest, like 20,000 people, right? That meeting is 2 hours long, right? The first hour of that meeting, I'm just sitting up on stage alone. Oh, boy. And they do this like shout out, and they're shouting out to all these people in different parts of the world, and Iran and the UK, and all these people were chiming in. And 144 state prisons and federal prisons were listening in. I got up there, I said my name, it was a complete blur. 48 minutes passed by, the meeting shut down. This is my crazy NA rock star moment, right? Just absolutely nuts, right? The meeting shuts down. Steve R. from World Service, he's chairing the meeting. He gets up by the podium. He said, we're going to circle up and close the meeting, but we ask you, please do not rush the stage. I'm like, what? Please do not rush the stage. If you want to meet our speaker, we're going to cart him over to the photo op area. I'm like, photo op area, Jimmy? Where are they taking me? I was confused. So they closed the meeting, and then two stagehands run up on stage. They ripped my Madonna mic off, because I had the damn Madonna mic on. They gave me a bottle of water and a hand towel. They threw me on the back of a golf cart. Hand to God. The golf cart goes speeding off, and there's a group of people chasing the fucking golf cart. George! I was laughing, crying. I did not know what the hell was going on. They bring me over to this photo op area. It got the backdrop, and I literally, a line of 1,000 people just want to hug me. I'm signing basic text, hugging people, kissing babies. It was just fucking crazy. Absolutely insane. You think that would have been the pinnacle, right? No. 3 years later, I still get goosebumps. 3 years later, I'm speaking in Ogden, Utah. Little mountain town, small convention, about 800, 1,000 people. Spoke on Saturday night, and again, that weird thing that happens every time you speak. There's a line of people want to hug you. Thank you, thank you. I still find it awkward, right? So all these people are hugging me. Next guy in line is this big Mexican guy. He got that look. He got those tattoos. You know what I'm talking about, right? This guy done some hard time. Big guy. His eyes are filled with water. He hugged me so damn hard. And he said, you don't know me, but 3 years ago, I was in the Colorado Federal Maximum Prison. I was in the drug program just to get some game time. I didn't know if I was going to stay clean after I got prison. But one morning, they took us down to the day room, and they broadcast the World Convention of Narcotics Anonymous. And I heard you. And you lit a fire under my ass. And when I got out of prison, I've been clean since, and I just celebrated 3 years clean. That's the hit. That shit at the World Convention, that was a novelty. That's the hit. Through the spoken word of Narcotics Anonymous, we can impact lives here. That you may be the only basic text to be able to reach that newcomer. So newcomer, don't demean what you have. There is no only in clean time. If you got a day clean on purpose, not because you ran out of dope or you got to take a piss test or you're doing something. If you made a decision on that day to stay clean, that is the most important day right there. That first day clean. Because that one day turns to a month, to years, to decades clean. And my clean day is the most important day in my life. And my clean day did not, I didn't pick my clean day. My clean day picked me. I didn't choose that day. And through divine intervention, which I'll get to later in my story, is how it all went down. But no matter how much time you have, that is the most important time you have. There's some people that like, I'm going to say it, Jimmy. There's some people who like to say, well, clean time don't matter. Usually the people that don't have time are usually the ones saying that shit. I'm like, well, if clean time don't matter, get some and lose it. and tell me if it don't matter.
Come on now.
I never met anybody with any amount of clean time come back from a relapse talking about, God damn, I'm so glad I threw away 15 years clean. Jail was wonderful. The cops were so nice to me. My wife is happy she got a black eye. The kids are disgraced that I stole the Christmas money yet again. I've yet to meet that addict. It's always the same old, same old, same old. They broke, busted, and disgusted. I can't believe I throw away that clean time. Jail sucks. The family's disappointed, and the cops are still assholes. And I listen to that addict. You know, sometimes we want to shun the multiple relapser, but we need to. If that's the guy or girl that we need to embrace more than anything. Look, this addict's dying. Right now, this very moment. Right now, as we're here clean, celebrating life in the Florida Keys, life is there's an addict right now picking through a dumpster. There's an addict getting high for the first time. There's an addict selling his ass for that next hit. I'll say it. There's an addict with a shotgun in his mouth ready to blow his brains out because he can't take another day of active addiction. And there's an addict dead from an overdose. Remember that. I don't never forget that. That's why I'm passionate about this. And lately with that, you know, with that one drug, we all know that one drug which starts with the F, you know what I'm saying? Killing people. And the Daytona area was ravaged. Last year we had about 4 to 6 members within an 8-week period. Members with a desire to stay clean. And my second sponsor, Jimmy, told me never underestimate an addict with the desire to get clean. Because eventually that addict will get clean. Or they'll die trying. And I've watched many addicts die trying to get clean. We need to embrace that addict. Don't be afraid to hug that multiple relapser. Think you're going to catch it. You got it. Ain't no difference from me to him. The only difference between me and him is the time. Is that no matter what, this addict has stayed clean. And which brings me to the most profound statement that the basic text makes. It's a ballsy ass statement too, because it's an absolute. It uses an absolute word. In Recovery Relapse it says we have never, not occasionally every now and then, only on Tuesdays, this addict, that addict, the other addict. No, it says we have never seen a person relapse, key word, who lives the Narcotics Anonymous program. Lives. Not writes about it, not reads about it, not talks about it. Those things are important. They're all part of living. But lives the Narcotics Anonymous program. And since March 9, 2001, I have lived this program, and the one thing I've done perfectly, I'll say it, the only thing I have done perfectly, is no matter what, this addict did not get high.
Yeah.
That's it. And I'll take credit for that. I did not do it by myself. It was a fellowship of men and women who meet regularly to help each other stay clean. Now mind you, a fellowship of men and women. I understand when it comes to sponsorship, women with the women, men with the men. But a fellowship of men and women who meet regularly to meet each other, to help each other stay clean. And I got some stand-up men in my life, and I got some stand-up women in my life. The Narcotics Anonymous taught me to have platonic, healthy relationships with women. And give it up for the strong, independent women of Narcotics Anonymous. And there's one of them, my wife.
Give it to him. Let's go.
That's my boy Cody.
Yeah. Cody.
Because there's some issues that I have, especially with being married to a woman, that I need a woman's perspective. And I had some great women in my life that helped me. I had some great men. It's just everything about the program, the men, the women, sponsorship, literature, everything has helped me stay clean no matter what. You know, relapse is not part of my story. Just for today, I came here, I got one white key tag, I've been clean since. So that makes me no different than anybody else. I don't care how many key tags you got in your pocket right now. Whatever key tag you have right now, that can be your last one you ever have to pick up.
Right.
Oh, did those lights just come on? Whoa.
Looking great.
I thought I was having some flashback for a second. Jeez. This guy's trying to blind me over here?
Working on it.
Hey.
Oh. That's good.
So I'm grateful, you know, the fellowship has struggled over the past year. Man, COVID, you know, changed our fellowship. It changed our fellowship. Look, when I recently went back to New York City, I was in shock on how small the meeting schedule was. Post-COVID. Pre-COVID, there were a lot of meetings, and I went to a meeting in the Bronx, and I'm like, and he said just a lot of meetings shut down and never reopened. You know, COVID changed a lot of things. You know, we talk about NA being a worldwide fellowship. We read about NA being a worldwide fellowship. But if it's one good thing that came out of the pandemic, is that we got to see the worldwide fellowship come together online, literally all over the world. Right? Whether you liked it or not, that's what we had, and we had to adapt. I didn't like it at first, but I had to adapt. Meetings were shutting down. People were getting sick. People were dying, so we had to do what we had to do. And I jumped on it, you know, just like any good addict, right? And there was literally hundreds of meetings online, and that 24/7 meeting, the marathon meeting, thank you, Jimmy, where you know, that meeting was on 24, and it's still to this day 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I was hooked. I'd come home, I'd get my laptop, my cell phone, my tablet, my wife's cell phone, my wife's tablet, my son's tablet. I had the living room TV, the desktop. I have all these meetings going on at the same time. I'm like, damn, I'm going to go to 90 meetings in one day. Woo. I was hooked. I was speaking in like Thailand and Japan and the UK in one day. And it was great, man. And but just like anything else, I got burned out. And I just went on the Zoom platform to tile watch, like the Brady Bunch. And y'all were bugging out on Zoom. Y'all were doing some weird shit on Zoom. People folding their laundry and ironing and cooking fucking pasta and breastfeeding and you got the one guy who's sleeping, right? Always see that one guy who's sleeping. Then you got the ceiling fan. Come back 4 hours later. Where'd he go? I hope he's all right. Because I've been spending a long fucking time. And it's good to laugh. Because you gotta laugh to keep from crying. And those were one of the things early on in my recovery that attracted me to Narcotics Anonymous. Is where I came from, nobody was laughing. It was serious business. So I'll tell you a little bit about me and my journey here. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on what I use, how I use, who I use with, because that shit don't matter. In Narcotics Anonymous, we don't care what you use, how you use. We don't care if you smoke it, drank it, shot it, snorted it, shoved it up your butt. We don't care what you did with it. All we want to do is, what is your problem and how we can help. But more importantly, what I always like to talk about, and I like to talk about my journey here a little bit because it is important through the process, because my journey to hope came through the process of identification. I needed to know that people used like me, thought like me, did that crazy shit. So when I would go to speaker meetings and I would hear people talk about their journey through addiction, and more importantly, what propelled them into recovery, that shot me with hope. Because I know if they can do it, I can do it. But more importantly, what I like to talk about during my story is that I am here through the grace of a loving God. I'm not afraid to talk about God. Our steps are not afraid to talk about God. Our traditions are not afraid to talk about God. Our literature is not afraid to talk about God. Don't be afraid to talk about God. And the third step gives us complete freedom to believe in anything we want to believe in. And it wasn't that God that I was brought up with. I was brought up Roman Catholic, went to Catholic school from kindergarten to the 10th grade. We prayed in the morning, prayed before lunch, prayed after lunch, prayed at the end of the day. We were at church every Sunday, and it just became this monotonous thing. And the God I was brought up with said that I was a sinner. And I needed to get good enough for God, and if I didn't repent, I was going to hell. And that's a lot of pressure to put on somebody. So when I got here, I had a misunderstanding of God. So if you're new or you're old and have lost your faith, don't let the word God chase you out of the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. Because the dope will chase your ass right back in here. Be praying for God then. Through divine intervention, a multitude of coincidences, which I thought at the time was how my higher power kept me alive long enough to find the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. You know, at the end of the road, March 9th, 2001, how did this kid from a seemingly good family, you know, my grandparents are from Spain, my parents were born in Puerto Rico, I was born in New York City, so I guess that makes me Puerto Rican. But I had two great loving parents who were married 64 years. Oh my God, did you hear what I just said? 64 years. My father was with one woman his entire life. My mother was with one man her entire life. And they raised us right. You know, all the things that I learned here in Narcotics Anonymous about be responsible, be honest, have integrity, have some faith, all those things I grew up with, they just didn't stick. And I can't my mother never gave up on me. Never. No matter how many times I stole from her, lied to her. I was telling somebody this story the other day. When we're using, we think we're slick, right? Like we think we're gonna pull one over, right? One of the most heartbreaking memories I have of my addiction. My mother washing the dishes and me talking to her behind her as I'm pulling out the envelope of cash from her back pocket. Thinking I was slick, right? My mother stood there, did not say a word as tears ran down her face. Because she knew exactly what I was doing. I broke my mother's heart. And she never gave up on me. Never gave up on me. May 2021, a Thursday, my mother woke up. You know, she was 82. We were not expecting anything. She had some old lady stuff going on. She woke up, tended to her garden, cooked, rushed to the hospital Friday morning, passed on a Sunday. And I was shook to my core. By nature, I am a doubting Thomas, right? I gotta touch it, feel it, see it.
Yeah.
And people told me those things that they say, oh, she's in a better place. She's there with you. And I would question it. Is she though, really? I remember I would pray and pray, God, I would pray, Mom, can you just hear me? Mom, can you just hear me? The second step talks about coincidences, right? To have no rhyme or reason. We were at the beach shortly after my mom passed. One of those aha moments, right? We were there, my wife and Cody. And my mom loved Cody. My mom made such an impression on this 18-month, 2-year-old child that to this day he sees a picture of her and he says, Nana. He remembers her. And I remember being at the beach and watching them play and being so just angry that I just wanted her to have one more day with Cody. That's it. And I was upset and I told my wife, just let's go. I'm not feeling this. And we walk into the car. And I get closer to the car. And I see this red flyer on my windshield wiper. I look down the row of cars. No other car has a red flyer. I look on the back row of cars. No other car has this red flyer. I see this red flyer. I walk towards it. Look, my mother was a God-fearing, at church every Sunday, hallelujah, Christian lady. That's who she was. That was her belief. It don't have to be yours. This is my story. I'm just saying it. That's the woman she was. I walked to that car. I picked up the flyer. I turned it around. And it said, 1 free ticket to heaven. John 3:16. Whoever believeth in me shall never perish but have everlasting life. That's all the proof I needed. That was my mom. That was Mom. So all those questions I had, when people would say, she's right here, she's right here. She's right here. That breeze right now blowing on me, that's my mom. And where does this belief come from? Through personal application of working the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous. That my understanding and belief in the spiritual realm that I don't really understand, but I know something kept this addict alive long enough to find the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. And my mother called me her little miracle child. My mother went through 6 weeks of false labor. Don't know exactly what that is, but apparently it's a thing, right? 6 weeks of false labor. Then I came out 2 months early. I was ready to wreak havoc on the world. My mother said, the second my head popped, I was crying. The doctor didn't have to slap me on the ass or nothing. I came out screaming. I'm talking about divine intervention, how the God of my understanding, my higher, kept me alive long enough to find the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. My mother called me her little miracle child. My first memory was a traumatic memory, 2 years old, a scar on my face. My brother was watching me, my oldest brother Rick. He was shoveling the snow in the Bronx. Don't remember much though. I remember I came up running behind him and he hit me in the face with a shovel. He said it was an accident, kind of plausible. Don't remember much, but I remember white snow and red blood. Still see that image in my head. Remember my mother running out the house in her little bata, a little house dress. Puerto Ricans know what a bata is, right?
Yes.
Couple here? Okay. That summer, 3 years old, the same brother is watching me. Wasn't watching me. I ran across the street, got hit by a fucking car, broke my leg, broke my arm, broke my ribcage. At 5 years old, I fell out of a one-story window, cracked my head right open. Got a hard head, so it came in handy. At the age of 16, October 23rd, 1988, on the streets of the Bronx in New York City, that gangbanger pulled out a 38. 1, 2, 3, 4. On the floor. At the age of 16 years old, I lay on the streets of the Bronx in the puddle of my own blood with 4 bullet holes through my chest. They were not flesh wounds. By all rights, I should be dead. But as you can see, my higher power had a different story. I believe self-will pulled that trigger, but God's will made sure that I lived to tell the tale. And I believe the reason I did not die that day is what's happening right here, right now, this very moment in Big Pine Key, Florida, at the Key Spiritual Retreat to carry the message to the newcomer and let you know that you don't need to die from the horrors of addiction. And by all rights, I should be dead. I was in surgery for 14 and a half hours. I flatlined for 52 seconds. I was pronounced clinically dead. They brought me back to life. Heart, lung, stomach, intestines. And for years, it was about boo-hoo, poor me. Look what they did to me. They almost killed me. Through the process of forceps, you uncover some shit, right? And having a child today, I could not imagine my 2 parents waiting in the lobby of a hospital for 14 and a half hours, not knowing if their little boy was going to live or die. If that was Cody, I'd break in fucking half. But that's the shit, right? And for years we bought into the lie. I was hurting nobody but my damn self with a crock of shit. I destroyed my family. My mother said when that surgeon came out and said he's going to pull through, my mother said she hit the ground at her knees and kissed that surgeon's hands. And those surgeons are doing God's work. Because if I take you home and cut you up the way they cut me up, your ass is going to die. I'm riddled with scars and bullets. I don't know what the fuck they did, but they did good. You know, they told me I never walk again. I walk just fine. They told me I never pee again. I pee just fine. I had some severe intestinal damage, so I had a colostomy. And if you have one, I empathize with you. I know what that's like. The colostomy is pretty much a piece of your intestines is hanging out your body, and they put a bag over it, and that's where you go your business. And they told this 16-year-old kid that I was going to have that for the rest of my life. I was like, damn, I'm never going to get laid. What's that? Oh, mind you, babe, that's a little shit bag. Don't worry about that. About a year later, they did this experimental surgery, and they literally waited around. I had these nurses waiting around for me for like a couple hours to see if I took a shit. And it happened. And to the grace of God, today I pooped just fine. If I can't be grateful for anything, at least I can have a damn bowel movement. I don't take that shit for granted, literally. So I kept just digging that hole, digging that hole, digging that hole, digging that hole. Multiple car accidents, multiple overdoses. Can we see that we're just not lucky?
Come on now.
Just Renee talks about that. Not just lucky. There was something out there, whatever it was, that kept me alive long enough to find the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous.
That's right.
And by the time I got here, whoa. It's like an ear ringer right there. I got a joke about that, but I'm not going to say it. So, you know, what propelled me, right? Like I said, I didn't pick my clean date. My clean date picked me. Through a set of circumstances and just coincidences and everything that's lined up. It's like the stars in heaven aligned. And on March 9th, 2001 is when it happened. But prior to that, something else happened. Prior to that, January 2001, I came up with this great idea. And if I throw it up, it gotta be screwed up, right? The great idea was, if I could just stop shooting dope, I'll be all right. Wasn't all the other stuff. It was just that one substance. If I could just stop doing that one substance, I'll be all right. So January 2001, I worked what I call the 3 steps of insanity. First step of insanity. I admitted I was somewhat powerless over heroin, and my life was just a little bit unmanageable. Then I worked the second step of insanity. I came to believe that methadone could restore me to sanity. Hi, baby, everybody. Then I worked the third step of insanity. I turned my will, my life, and my wallet over to the methadone clinic. And all I did was substitute one for another. You know what happens when we do that? We release our addiction all over again. Look, I know there's opinions about that shit today, but I don't care what gets you to the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. All that matters is what keeps you right here. And we need to love those addicts and tell them the truth. Because I was one of them. And I found myself in a methadone detox in Orlando, Florida, and an amazing thing happened. You guys showed up. Messengers of hope. Members of the H&I subcommittee. And if you do H&I work, thank you very much. Our literature talks about 3 principles that are indispensable. When I was new, my first sponsor was big on words. He said, make friends with Webster. I'm like, who's Webster? Is he a member of Narcotics Anonymous? He's one of those good sharing people? No, dumbass. He wrote a book called a dictionary. Read it. And the word indispensable, it's got a pretty profound definition. Necessary, vital, cannot do without. 3 principles that are indispensable, that are necessary, that are vital, that you cannot do without. Honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. And those are the how of the program. I need those 3 principles. My recovery is in jeopardy if I don't have them. And in that detox, January 2001, I sat there dishonest, closed-minded, and unwilling. I just had a little dope shooting problem. I wasn't like you other people. I thought you guys from H&I like work for the treatment center and were getting paid to be there. You had to be like some counselors or something. And I was thinking, y'all had to at least be smoking pot. No one's that damn happy. So I didn't buy into it. It sounded good if you're an addict, but I wasn't an addict. I just had a little dope shooting problem. But what happened was they placed the seed, right? That's what we do in H&I. We are sowers of seeds, and we just hope that one of those seeds take. So I left that detox, smoking a blunt on the way home, talking about, damn, it's good to be clean. As long as I ain't shooting dope. That's where my head was. But from that period, January to March 2001, was the most loneliest, desperate time of my addiction. And you know, I got to that point, did not know it, but hindsight being 2020, where literally the drug stopped working. It wasn't about getting high no more. It was about just getting by. And how did it happen? Long story short, my brother came over, and thank God I had 2 great, enabling, loving parents that when shit got bad on the street, I always had a place to go to, always ran home. Ran back home yet again. My brother came over. He fell asleep on the couch. The disease said, take his keys, take his wallet. I said, okay. Took his keys, took his wallet, went on a run. Back out there on a 2-week run. All the money was gone. I maxed out his credit cards. I was like, well, I guess I'll go home now.
Yeah.
Leaving the neighborhood. Look, divine intervention. This is how God works, right? May not mean nothing to you, but it means something to me. This is divine intervention. Dope boy on the corner weighs me down. I pull over. He gives me a proposition. He says, yo, I need to re-up. I'll give you a little bit now. Let me borrow the car for a couple hours. And when I come back, I'll give you some more. Sounds like a damn good idea to me. I trusted this man. You know, we talk about we were hopeless drug addicts. I had a whole lot of hope that day. I hope he'd come back. I hope the dope is good. I hope my brother don't find out. I hope I don't go to jail. If I do go to jail, I hope I get bailed out. A whole lot of false hope. 2 hours turned to 4 hours, 4 hours turned to 6 hours, 6 hours turned to 8 hours. I still don't know where the fuck that damn car is to this day. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back. That was like, help, help me, help me. But it wasn't even about, look, this is where the disease took me. No guilt, no shame, no remorse, no nothing. My brother came to pick me up. Everyone's freaking out. Everyone's crying. I'm like, what's the problem? Just a car. You can buy another car. Get home. My mom is crying. My dad is pissed. I'm like, what's the problem? No guilt, no shame, no remorse. I didn't care about nothing. Until in desperation, we sought help from each other in Narcotics Anonymous. Didn't care about nothing. No concern. I got very concerned when my father said, I'm calling your probation officer. Oh shit. Wait a minute. Violation of probation. Grand theft auto. They're going to piss test me. I'm going to jail. When I think about that day, it's like my higher power had this carrot dangling me. I didn't know until in desperation my ass did not want to go to jail. That's it. Had no desire to get clean. And out of the side of my neck comes, just take me to the hospital. Don't call the probation officer. I'll go get help. People go to the hospital for help. I'll go get help. And they bought it. I was like, damn. So I didn't know what I was doing. When I think about that, I know where that came from. Came out of Saturday night, take me to the hospital. My brother took me to the hospital. I went into the emergency room. I walked in there. I slammed my... I can't see a damn thing with these fucking lights in my eyes.
We're here.
You guys are still here, right? All right. I walk up to the nurse. I slam my hand on the desk. I said, nurse, I'm on a lot of drugs. If you don't help me, I'll kill myself. She said, okay, have a seat. So I sat down. My brother left. She went to the back. The disease said, run. Believe me, I wanted to run far. I wanted to run fast. I wanted to run just out of that place. But for the life of me, I could not get up out of that seat. For the first time in a long, long time, I was scared. Scared. I believe God in all His grace had His foot on me and said, boy, you ain't going nowhere. I cried suicide, so I ended up in the psych ward the next day in a paper gown, paper sliver, asshole hanging out. Like, what am I doing here? I talked to the shrink. I gave him the story. He's like, well, George, you really don't want to kill yourself. I'm like, no, well, you're just an addict, and you need help. So I cried suicide, so they had me under a Baker Act. They lifted the Baker Act. I went from the psych ward to detox. Mind you, had no desire to get clean. None whatsoever. I was just going to buy some time. That's all I wanted to do was buy some time. Right? Then I got to that detox room. And I got there and I got to thinking. I got to thinking. Look, my whole life was an entire lie. I bought into that original lie early in life, before drugs and alcohol even came in the picture. That original lie that told me I'm not good enough, I'm not hip enough, I'm not slick enough, I'm not cool enough, nobody likes me, you're inadequate, insecure, nobody wants to be your friend. Nobody ever told me those things. Those are the things that plague me, even till this day with some clean time. that little voice will come back. And I bought into the second biggest lie of my life, that somehow dope was the solution to my problem being myself. And for a while, it was my solution. Until the end, the bitch turned on me. And to the end, I found myself on March 9th, 2001. I had literally lied myself to the truth. I had lied myself to that day, to the cornerstone, to the breaking point, where enough was enough. I remember sitting in that detox room and just thinking, and all of a sudden, it was not about buying time. It was that point, that moment of clarity. And I went from this ain't about buying time, and I went and I hit my knees. And I prayed that prayer, and I cried them tears. And if you've been at that place, you know them tears, and you know that prayer, right? You know it. But the funny thing about it, I prayed that prayer and cried them tears long before March 9th, 2001. But always had an ace up my sleeve, always been bargaining with God. Get me out of this one. Always those foxhole prayers. But on March 9th, 2001, the bargaining was over. It was no foxhole prayer. There was no ace up my sleeve. It was the most sincere prayer of my life. And the prayer was simple as, help me.
Yes.
Help me. The addict's prayer. Help me. For a long time, I tried to figure out what happened to me in that detox room. I wear glasses. I'm getting older. So years, like a few months later, I always try to remember, like, what the hell happened in that detox room? And it works how I. Step 1 clearly tells me what happened. And this is on page 9. May not mean much to you, but it means a lot to me. My clean date is March 9th, and this was on page 9. And on page 9, it tells me exactly what happened in that detox room. And this is what happened. Many of us recall the moment of clarity. We come face to face with our disease, all the lies, all the pretenses, all the rationalizations we had used to justify where we stood as a result of our drug use stopped working. Who and what we were became more clear. We could no longer avoid the truth. The truth. The truth will set you free. And after 15 years of buying into that lie, the truth became evident right there on March 9th, 2001. And that was it. And I remember that day so clearly, just being so confused and so just didn't know what I was going to do. I wiped my tears and sat on my bed, and I looked over on the nightstand, and there was this shiny blue book. And it wasn't big, it was basic. From that day, Narcotics Anonymous was where I needed to go. And I found that book. And that book talked the language that I searched my entire life. My whole life I tried to figure out what the hell was wrong with me. And I read it right there in chapter 1. Who's an addict? Most of us don't have to think twice about this question. We know our whole life and thinking is centered in drugs in one form or another. The getting and giving and the getting and using and finding ways and means to get and use more. We used to live. Yeah. Very simply, an addict is a man or woman whose life is controlled by drugs, where people caught in the grip of a continuing present illness whose ends are always the same: jails, institutions, and death. That was it. I qualified. That is the perfect description of an addict. If you cannot identify with that reading, I don't know what your problem is, but I know when I read that shit, that was me. In one paragraph, Jimmy K wrote the most perfect description of an addict. And if you don't know who Jimmy K is, ask your sponsor. And if your sponsor don't know, fire his ass and get a new sponsor. So all those italicized writing before each chapter, those are Jimmy's words, those are Jack's words, those are Doris's words, they are pioneers of Narcotics Anonymous. That look, mind you, look at the magnitude of the miracle. In July 1953, addicts had an idea. After months of planning, on October 5th, 1953, 17 recovering addicts met in Sun Valley, California. The first NA meeting was held. 17 addicts. Here we are, 60-something years later? A worldwide fellowship with thousands of meetings and hundreds of thousands of members, started with one man, 16 other addicts, gave birth to the second largest 12-step fellowship in the world. And it is the most exclusive fellowship in the world. You damn near gotta die to become a member. And my life was on the line. I was dying when I got here. I was dying. You know, I went to treatment. I got the basic text. I bought into this thing. Hook, line, and sinker. I was reading the text. They took us to outside meetings. I remember my first outside meeting. My first outside meeting. They took us in the druggy buggy, right? The druggy buggy smelled like feet and desperation, right? They took us to my first outside NA meeting. I don't remember much about the meeting, but I remember I sat way back in denial aisle and relapse row, all the way the fuck back there. Don't remember much about the meeting, but I was there to look good, and you know what we do when we're in treatment, right? That girl, she liked me. I know she looking at me. Don't remember much about the meeting, but I remember when they gave out the key tags. And this big biker guy by the name of Terry T, at the time, had 20-something years clean. And I gave out the key tags, and I came to the front of the room. And the closer I got to Terry, the bigger he got, the bigger he got, the bigger he got. Terry's this big, burly biker guy with a white beard. And Terry is an NA hugger, right? Like when Terry hugs you, you feel that shit. He ain't burping you on the back. He's fucking hugging you. So this big biker guy is hugging the shit out of me. This frail, 130-pound, dope-sick newcomer, like, felt like every bone in my body was gonna break. I was like, please don't hurt me, sir. Don't remember much about the meeting, but I remember what he whispered in my ear that I take with me to this very day. He said, keep coming back. We need you. I don't know why this big burly biker guy with 20-something years clean needed my crazy ass, but he needed me. And that shit made me feel good.
Yeah.
Do you know why he needed me? Because like I recognized earlier in the meeting, the newcomer will always be the most important person in the room. The newcomer is the future of Narcotics Anonymous. That's why he needed me. And I bought into that shit, man. I wore that white key tag with a badge of honor. I still have it somewhere. I remember that shit like filled me with so much hope. That shit gave me superpowers. Like I became fucking recovery man. I was fucking more powerful than the basic text, faster than the NA helpline, able to lead the NA structure in a single bound. I'm here to fight for truth, justice, and the NA way. Look over in the corner, it's a crackhead. No, it's a dope fiend. No, it's recovery man. Dun, dun, dun. That white key tag gave me the uncanny supernatural ability to talk shit on a drop of a dime. I would come into the meetings with my infamous newcomer backpack with all the key tags dangling, all the buttons and stickers and every piece of NA literature stuffed in there, wearing the NA t-shirt, the NA belt buckle, the NA hat, the NA chain. I would come in and share my profound wisdom on the 10th, 11th, 12th step at 30 days clean. And when I was done, y'all said, keep coming back. I was like, damn, I'm going to keep coming back. They want me to keep coming back. I'm going to help fuck these people. But I've been clean long enough, I know what the fuck that keep coming back means today. It's not that heartfelt keep coming back. It's like, you don't know shit, George. You might as well be talking Japanese right now. We're going to tolerate your crazy ass, so just keep coming back. So I just kept coming back, kept coming back, kept coming back. I kept sharing, kept sharing, kept sharing. And I've come to the conclusion, hindsight being 2020, I was actually helping the old timer. I was helping them be loving and patient and kind and tolerant and open-minded. There was this one guy, John C., by the grace of God, he passed away, but every time I would share, John would get the fuck up and walk out the meeting. Apparently I could not help John, but just keep coming back, keep coming. I fell in love with Narcotics Anonymous. I bought into this line. I bought into this thing hook, line, and sinker. You know, I fell in love with Narcotics Anonymous. I was starving. I was spiritually fucking hungry. I needed something to feed me. And if you're starving and somebody throws you a cracker, you'd be like, God damn, that's the best damn cracker I ever ate. What was that, a Ritz cracker? Thank you, Eddie Murphy, for that one. Right? So I ate that fucking cracker for about 4 months, and I rolled over and realized I just got some regular little crackers here. And the novelty of early recovery started fading away, and all you guys, all you good sharing people were full of shit, and I was hanging on, and I was just hanging on, right? My bubble of NA consisted of the Daytona area. That's all I knew of NA. And I know there's some Daytona people here. Thank you for coming out here. That's all I knew of Narcotics Anonymous. And there was this big buzz about this thing called Fricna. Fricna. Everybody's announcing it. Everybody's excited. I didn't know what the fuck a Fricna was, but everybody was excited, and they invited me to go, and I'm going. And if you don't know what Fricna is, that is the Florida Regional Convention of Narcotics Anonymous, also known as Fuck Recovery and Chase Newcomers Around. You know that shit happens. It's okay. Grab them after the meeting. So, look, my bubble was the Daytona area. That's all I knew. I went to Fricna 20. That was my first Fricna. I went to Fricna 20. My bubble exploded. There were about 3,000 addicts there on Saturday night from all over the state, all over the country, different parts of the world. This guy, Tyrone M., I believe, spoke that year. And Tyrone was from Chicago, and he was on fire. He was quoting the basic text. He was spitting fire. He was slamming on the fucking podium. He was enthusiastic. He was funny as hell. I was spiritually aroused with Tyrone. Like, oh my God, I had an NA fucking hard-on for this man. I'm like, oh my God. And I had that thought. And it's a very common thought. It's so common that there's a reading about it in the Just for Today. That thought that said, in my head, I'm going to do that one day. I'm going to be an NA circuit speaker. I'm going to travel the country. I'm going to save people. I'm going to girls throw panties on stage. I want to do that. And the disease said, yeah, right. And today I get to do that shit. And this guy blinded me even more by moving that light. Holy shit, you guys still there, right? All right.
All right.
So I get to do that today. And I don't see that to boast or brag, or it's just, look, I'm not calling myself up to speak, right? So don't hate on the speaker. And people have like opinions, and look, I'm just another member with a big fucking mouth. That's it. So when people call me, it is the most humbling thing in the world. So you're going to put me on a plane, fly me to Alaska, and all I got to do is talk shit for an hour? Sure, I'll do it. And just, we all find our place, right? So it happened, and I don't know how the fuck it happened. And like I talked about earlier, this is the novelty. This don't mean nothing. It's what happens after this that matters. It's that newcomer that's sitting in this room right now that has that thought and looking at me and says, I want to do that. You can do it.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want. You can go back to school. You can start a business. You can get married. You can raise kids. You can buy a house. You can do whatever you want in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, because I'm proof of it. We're all proof of it. To recognize the magnitude of the miracle. When I really think about that, look, I went from being homeless to being a homeowner. I went from being... Okay, scared the shit out of me. How much time I got? Because I'll fucking keep going. So, 5 minutes? Got it. Thank you, Sandy. I can see Sandy just fine. Thank you. Can't see nobody else but Sandy. Look, being homeless to being a homeowner.
That's right.
To being a criminal and a burden to society to a productive member of society who has a job, pays taxes, and listens to talk radio. What the fuck happened to me? To being a relationship retard, to having a healthy marriage with another beautiful woman in my life. That we don't always see eye to eye, but we work things out. That we're able, for the most part, I'm able to see my part, for the most part. She helped me with that a lot. Yeah, good fucking girl. Love her. But she can see her part, I can see my part, and we could come together as a whole and heal. Right? To being institutionalized, to working in a fucking institution. That I'm pretty much getting paid to be a recovering drug addict today. That's just insane. So whatever you want to do, recognize what you want to do and go for it. And if it doesn't happen, oh well, try the next thing. Just keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. It's not about this, it's about what happens. It's about how this message impacts lives, how it changes lives, right? Look, that this message is so powerful, it not only changed my life, it changed my family's life. The first convention I ever spoke at was DACNA 8, way back when. First convention I spoke at. My family, my mom, my dad, my daughter, my brothers all came to support me, right? My father was a typical Latino man, never said he loved me, never showed any kind of affection. He parented out of fear. He didn't have to say anything. Do you know that guy who walks, that dad who walks into a room, don't even have to say nothing. Just his presence alone instilled fear and respect. Yes, sir. No, sir. Didn't have to say, that was my dad. Never showed love, never showed any affection. After I spoke at DACNA that first time, again, that line of fucking people, I'm hugging people. The next person in line is my dad. My dad had tears in his eyes, crying. And he hugged me, and he said the 3 words he never said my entire life. He said, I love you. Narcotics Anonymous gave him that. That he witnessed me at my absolute worst, and today is witnessing me at my absolute best. That it not only changed my life, it changed my entire family's life. That every single solitary thing in my life, I'm talking about everything, the money in my pocket, the money in the bank, the clothes that I wear, the car that I drive, the job that I have, the house that I own, the food in my fridge, my relationships with my daughter, with my wife, with my son, with my parents. Every single solitary thing in my life is a direct result of Narcotics Anonymous. Recognize that. I recognize that. That is the base of my gratitude. When you come from nothing, you learn to appreciate everything. And not every day, but for the most part, if there's one thing I can't be grateful for when the disease is screaming and I can't get it, I'm like, no, 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 not today. Today I got a clean day. Today I have an opportunity to do better. Even when I fall short, I can do that today. That the 12 steps have not only saved my life, they have changed my life. That I'm no longer a using addict. I am a recovering addict. And who is a recovering addict? Most of us don't have to think twice about this question. We know. Our whole life and thinking is centered in NA in one form or another. The getting and giving and finding ways and means to get and give more. We recover to live and live to recover. Very simply, a recovering addict is a man or woman whose life is cared for by God. We are people caught in a continuing progressive journey whose ends are always the same: happy, joyous, and free. I'm an addict named George. Good night.